Hey there, my name is Sebastian, and for my book talk presentation, I decided to do Dear Martin by Nick Stone. This book hit me harder than expected. It's powerful, fast-paced, and it makes you think, really think, about race, identity, and justice in not just the US, but the whole world. To summarize, Dear Martin follows Justice McAllister, a 17-year-old black high school senior. He's got a bright future, top of his class, full scholarship material, and he's on track for Yale. But one night, while trying to help his ex-girlfriend who is too drunk to drive, he is arrested, slammed to the ground, and thrown in the back of a police car. That experience sticks with him. It makes him question everything, especially the belief that if you play by the rules, you'll be treated fairly. To try and understand what happened, Justice starts writing letters to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That's actually where this book gets its title, Dear Martin. He uses the letters like a journal, a way to figure out his place in the world and what it means to be a young black man in a society that still sees him as a threat. Early in the book, he writes, "I know I don't have it as bad as some people, but come on. I try so hard to do everything right." That line really stuck with me. It shows how confused and how hurt he is. He's doing everything quote-unquote right, but it still doesn't protect him. The book doesn't stop there. As Justice tries to move forward, he starts noticing the racism around him more clearly. His classmates joke about race, stereotype him, and even during class debates, they say stuff that seem harmless on the surface, but are actually super, super offensive. There's a moment where a student says, affirmative action is basically just reverse discrimination, and another where someone tells Justice, you're like the smartest kid in school, so you don't really count as black. It's shocking but also realistic. That's part of what makes this book so intense. It's not just about dramatic moments of injustice, it's all about the subtle stuff too. The microaggressions, the coded language, the way people try to compliment you while also putting you in a box. Later in the story, things escalate even more. Justice and his friend Manny get into a confrontation with an off-duty police officer, one that ends in tragedy. I won't spoil the entire plot, but what happens forces Justice to confront how deeply racism runs in the justice system and in people's everyday thinking. There's a quote after that moment that really hit me. People often learn more from getting an undeserved punch in the face than they do from being handed something on a silver platter. That line reflects Justice's frustration and how sometimes it takes pain for people to wake up to what's happening. Through it all, the book keeps asking one central question. What would Martin do? Justice is trying to live by King's philosophy of nonviolence and compassion, but the world he lives in keeps testing that. It's hard to stay peaceful when you're constantly misunderstood, dismissed, or even attacked. At one point he writes, I can't help but think that maybe being king just isn't enough anymore. That moment is extremely heartbreaking because it shows how even someone trying to do good, to live with purpose and integrity, can start to feel hopeless. For the reflection, I'd like a change of scenery. This book challenged me. It made me reflect on my own assumptions and made me realize how easy it is to ignore things when they don't affect you personally. What Justice goes through isn't fiction for a lot of people. It's reality, and Nick Stone does a brilliant job of showing that in a way that's honest, emotional, and completely unfiltered. So why does Dear Martin matter? Because it gives voice to the experiences so many people go through but often get ignored. Because it reminds us that change doesn't come from understanding big historical events, it comes from listening to people living through injustice right now. I know it's impossible for someone like me to relate to Justice and what he's experienced, but there is one thing. For a while, people would comment on my height, saying stuff like, "Oh wow, you're so tall, you must be really good at basketball, right?" This actually kind of hurts, because when people say that, it feels like there's a looming social obligation to conform to those expectations. So while I cannot relate to these specific experiences that Justice has had, I can at least say that I kind of know how he feels. If I were to describe this book in one word, it would be necessary. Of course, you could just take my word for it and listen to what I have to say, but if you read it and listen to what Nick Stone writes in the book, I think you'll have a much better understanding and a much better learning experience of what people go through on a daily basis. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. See you next time.
Wake from your sleep, the drying of your tears.